Chippenham Lodge Stud is situated in the middle of beautiful countryside in the east of England. Not only is this an idyllic retreat, but is also perfectly located for trips to surrounding areas, such as the capital, London, which is just under an hour away. And, with the capital practically on your doorstep, no visit to England would be complete without paying it a visit. London is a truly international city in every sense of the word. It started out as a small collection of boroughs which became so large that they began to overlap, eventually spawning the sprawling metropolis we know today. Chippenham is also only 30 minutes from Cambridge, which has been educating the noble classes since the first college opened in 1209. The university is revered as one of the finest seats of learning, certainly in England, if not indeed the world, and if its past pupils are anything to go by, then the idea of Cambridge being the world's most prestigious university is not too much of a stretch of the imagination. As we return to Chippenham Lodge Stud in the picturesque village of Chippenham, we can see that it was extensively redeveloped in 1983 to create a high-class private stud.
Anybody who drives into Chippenham Lodge Stud will see immediately the great history that's associated with the farm. It's the most beautiful farm, it's got wonderful trees and the fields look fantastic. It's a great place to breed horses. They also stood a stallion at Chippenham Lodge Stud, and that, who knows, that may be something for the future to consider. But at the moment we're looking to produce top-class racehorses on the wonderful soils and fields that are at Chippenham Lodge Stud. There's 110 acres of very, very good soil, which in the winter it doesn't get too muddy, in the summer it doesn't get too dry. It's actually perfect land for raising horses.
Accessed via a tree-lined drive, Chippenham Stud Lodge is set in the heart of parkland. The drive leads up to a large parking area and a gravel sweep in front of the house. With an extensive upgrade already underway, Chippenham Lodge will not only serve as a working stud, but also as a corporate retreat and business facility that will help to draw investment into the town and regenerate the area as a whole. For anyone who visits, the surrounding areas are dotted with picturesque towns and quiet villages, as well as the thundering hooves and excitement of the races at Newmarket, which is only 10 minutes away from Chippenham. As the site of the world's largest training grounds, the base for numerous racing organisations, trainers and jockeys, and where more racehorses are bred, stabled and trained than anywhere else in the world, it is no surprise that Newmarket is known as the home of horse racing. Racing here dates back to King Charles II, and royalty is still coming here today. Queen Elizabeth II is a regular visitor who comes to watch her horses exercising at the Gallops. The Gallops is probably the most expansive training area in the world. It has 2,500 acres of maintained training grounds, over 70 miles of gallops and 2,200 thoroughbreds in training every month. Therefore, it is no wonder that it is considered an international centre of excellence. At Chippenham Lodge Stud you can actually see how the stud farm works. For the less sporting inclined, cultural enlightenment can be found at Ely, which is just 16 miles from Newmarket. The town can boast of a magnificent cathedral whose imposing structure towers over the fens and can be seen for miles around. More than this, it was also once the home of Oliver Cromwell, who played a leading role in bringing Charles I to trial and execution and championed a new degree of religious freedom. In 1636 he inherited a large estate in Ely, which is now home to the National Collection of British Stained Glass, and is nearby the city's old jail, which has been turned into Ely's museum. As if the guests at Chippenham Lodge Stud weren't already spoilt for choice, they can also take in the beauty of the River Orwell in the nearby city of Ipswich. The Docklands area, also known as the waterfront, is now primarily devoted to leisure use and includes extensive recent development of residential apartment blocks and the new university campus. The industrial part of the Docklands has now moved down to the South Wet Dock, but at the waterfront, charter boats and yachts regularly take visitors and tourists on pleasure trips, and the area has developed into a friendly, thriving and vibrant community within the city. All of these local attractions, though, as enticing as they are, should not draw you away from Chippenham Lodge itself. Over a concerted design and development period, the Chippenham site will be comprehensively upgraded and redeveloped.
I'm Tom Boland. I'm Director of Design for Chippenham Lodge Stud in Cambridgeshire. Chippenham Lodge Stud is a 108-acre farm, and it's been a stud farm for a long time, going back as long as 1800. Mr. Dill Rahulans is in the process of redeveloping the stud farm and has purchased the ground, and we are in the process right now refurbishing all of the buildings, bringing up the pastures up to snuff, and working on the fences and gates. And we are also building a new lodge to house a corporate retreat. And this corporate retreat will have opportunity for Mr. Houlihan's guests and family and visitors to come and stay and enjoy the countryside. It's a gorgeous 108-acre property with huge chestnut trees and paths and pastures. It's just a very rural agrarian scene that everyone can enjoy, and we plan to take what is the beauty that is there and change it and add to it and build upon the past and make a really continue into the future with I think a brighter future for Chippenham as well as the surrounding countryside. The architecture of the lodge that we're designing has to do was derived mainly from the English countryside manor from the surrounding regions. We were striving to actually create something that would fit into the vernacular of the countryside. All the new building technologies actually available today, and we're using a lot of, I would say, more classic design on the outside, so that we have this interplay of classic modernism, and we intend to make it a more viable stud farm. We're building one new American barn that's going to house about 28 horses. We'll have brood mares primarily in that barn with the foals, and then the maximum number of horses on the stud farm will be approximately in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 horses maximum. Chippenham Lodge Stud redevelopment is including the redesign and the reconstruction of the lodge manor house. And the manor house is planned to be a corporate retreat. The corporate retreat will provide accommodations for visitors for the corporation as well as for the family to come and stay and enjoy the beautiful park-like atmosphere in the stud farm. And also we have developed a little courtyard where the management buildings are formed around a clock tower. And this clock tower building will have things that are a little museum about the farm and so forth, so people can actually see the history of Chippenham.
All of this will help Chippenham Lodge Estate to get back to competing at the very top of the international racing scene and once more become royalty in the sport of kings. With these world-class facilities and the most advanced breeding methods, everything is now in place to make this dream a reality so that we can nurture future champions. Chippenham Lodge Stud, since 1840.